Hello, everyone. I have a very special treat for you today. I've invited my dear friend, Jennifer Gain, to guest design on my YouTube channel. She will hopefully be the first of a couple YouTubers that I really want to feature on my channel because I love their designs and their products, and I think you will too. I really hope you enjoy Jen's video and that you will take a peek over on her YouTube channel. Say hello and subscribe and follow her and all her creative projects as well. She is super talented and sweet. Such a nice creative. I'm hoping to be able to bring you some more videos like this and have some more guest designers coming in the upcoming weeks to help you to round out and find more amazing creatives whose projects you will enjoy and love. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to Jen for putting the video together and guest designing on my channel. Today, I am so honored and happy to have you here. Enjoy. Bye.
Hello, scrappy friends. Jen here with a layout to share for you guys. I'm super excited to be guest designing on Sarah's channel. Thank you so much, Sarah, for inviting me to do this. I hope you guys are all doing really well. If you don't know me, I am Kay's mom on YouTube and on Instagram, and thanks so much for checking me out. I am working with the Scrapshots October challenge, which is the mood board that I showed you at the beginning of my video, and I'm also going to be working with the sketch from 30 Days of Sketches Series 16 Day 9, which was done by Claudia Henderson, and all of the sketches for Series 16 are 2-page layouts. So you don't have to do them as 2-page layouts. You are definitely welcome to go ahead and just, take your favorite parts of any of the 2 pages or blend them all together and make 1 page. But I love 2-page layouts, and any excuse I can get to go ahead and make them, I am right in there. I am going to do that. So that is what you can see me doing right here. The mood board in the Scrapshots Facebook group, it's Scrapshots Paper Crafting Facebook group. I created it with fall colors because we are in the thick of fall here where I live, and it's my favorite season. I just love all of the colors. I like working with them, but I also wanted to add some textures to that mood board. So I've got some knitted textures and I've got feathers, and I even threw in a little bit of food there because I love the textures and the colors and the shapes in the food. And so there's lots that you can pull from with that mood board. I also added in some of those more modern fall colors that you see popping up, so pinks and burgundies and blues and things like that. So it's definitely a fun kind of versatile mood board. I didn't want anyone to be boxed into fall specifically, even though it's fall here, but that's definitely what I was going for. So I pulled out my cider and donuts collection from Simple Stories. I also got this from Scrapshots, and it's the first time I'm using it. So this is my inaugural layout using this collection, and as you can see, it has all of the colors and, kind of the obvious fall theme to it. So I was pretty excited to get using it up and then to be able to use it on 2 pages. That is great. It always puts a really good dent into any collection if you can start with a 2-page layout. So the other reason I went for this sketch, not only is there multiple photos on this sketch, but I am a big fan of scraps, and this is the perfect sketch to use if you just have a few scraps of a collection kind of left over. So cutting your scraps into strips like this, and then maybe, fussy cutting some of the images that you might have in your scraps to use as embellishments, or punching some shapes, anything like that. I think that this is a perfect opportunity to get that used up. So although I am using a brand new collection that I haven't actually cracked into yet, definitely this is a go-to sketch. I think Claudia did such a great job, and this is a scrap sketch for sure. So I always love those. I like to kind of keep those in my arsenal. But I think, a good thing about it is that it's one of those things sometimes with a brand new collection that you really love, where you kind of sit there and it's not that you have white page syndrome, but it's almost like you have this fear of what to use, how much to use. Are you using it the right way? Like, what if you have an idea that comes up that's even better than what you're working with now, but you've already used the best elements from the collection? There's just some of that apprehension that kind of goes along with excitement when you have a new collection. And this sort of broke that ice for me by forcing me to actually cut into it and cut a bunch of strips from some of the papers. So now already I've made scraps out of several of those papers. And I think, I'll feel a little bit less apprehensive about using the rest of it. I can just kind of jump in and do it. So I always like to start with some mixed media. It's just something I enjoy doing. So I pulled out some acrylic paint. I have some orange and yellow, a couple of different kind of reddish oranges, gold, and white. Whenever I do this kind of streaky effect with my acrylic paints, I like to add some white in there. I think it kind of helps to blend everything, and it also gives some variant to each of the colors. So I went ahead and got that done and got it drying, and then I could go and start cutting my strips. So although there are several pictures in Claudia's sketch, I didn't have multiple photos. I always usually try to do 2-page layouts when I have a lot of pictures to scrap, but in this case I thought it would be a good opportunity to go ahead and use up some of those larger elements that you see in so many different collections now. Especially Simple Stories, they always have a page of 4x6 cut aparts, 4x3, usually a page that has the little 2x2 squares, and then like 3x3 squares, and a journal. I think it's called like the journal bits cut apart, which is just larger elements but in varying sizes. And so I sometimes have one or two of those that I really like, and then I usually end up wanting to use the pattern on the other side. And so this I thought was a good opportunity. Instead of having photos to put in the spots where Claudia has photos, I could use some of those larger elements and kind of make those a bit more of a priority. So I went ahead and cut a few of those first. I knew I probably wasn't going to use all of the ones that I cut, but I cut out a bunch of them so that I had some options. And then I cut strips with all the other papers. So I tried to get a good smattering of the different colors that you see, and some that were a little bit darker and more solid, and some that are light and airy, and just kind of spread those across all of my layers to make sure that I was getting a nice variant of layers. I really wanted to do kind of cozy layers rather than the nice clean layers that you see in Claudia's sketch, because to me I feel like fall is that kind of cozy feeling, and just I love that like layered effect. I added layers of blankets in my mood board, and so I wanted to kind of give that feel with my layers. So you can see here I didn't cut them all the same width, and some of them are the branding strips, so they're quite narrow. Some of them are a lot thicker. And you can see how I kind of started to place them all down where I left some gaps. And that way I could kind of put my grounding layers in first, so some of those darker colors, and make sure those were all spread out. And then I could come back over top and add in other layers with some of those, pops of color. There's a little bit of pink in there. There's some yellow, some greens. And so I think I probably have more strips in my layers than what you see in Claudia's sketch, but that is what I was going for, was that, kind of fun texture, and none of my layers are the same width, and they all kind of sit in different places on top of each other and stuff like that. So I don't know, it felt right, so that's what I did. I also couldn't pick from all of the patterns which ones I really wanted. I wanted all of the colors in there. But I think I forgot to mention, and I will say, as I was putting the strips down and kind of planning how I wanted them to look, I realized that the colors of my acrylic paints, especially the yellow with the orange that I picked, it was just a little bit too bright. So I did have to go back in and kind of tone it down a little bit. I picked this sort of beigey brown color, and then I also added in a darker orange, and then again some white and some gold, because the gold that I was using has a little bit of shimmer to it. So I wanted to make sure that I had some of that on the top layers and that it wasn't all covered up with these new colors. But it just kind of pushed it back and toned it down a little bit. And I think if I didn't have brown, or something else, like if I didn't have a darker orange, I might have just gone in with some gesso, or even just the white acrylic paint I was using, and brushed it right over top and kind of pushed it all into the background a little bit more, because the orange and the yellow together, they were quite bright, and they didn't look right with the colors from the papers. So I'm glad I did have that color, but that would be another idea if you didn't have some of these darker colors, or didn't have like a beige or anything like that. So I just quickly matted my photos with that dark brown color to kind of give them a bit of grounding and let them pop in front of all of those patterns, and then the mixed media. And you can kind of see, like, I ended up covering quite a bit of it, but it's still, I think it might actually have been worse because now you only see those little pops, and I think that orange would have contrasted quite a bit with the more kind of earthy colors that are in the collection. But I put my photos down. I did pop them up with some of the tabby dots from Spiegel Mom Scraps. And then I used the cards. I used 2 4x3 cards and 4 technically, little 2x2 cards kind of down underneath my pictures in that same place where Claudia had smaller photos kind of going across the layout. And then instead of putting my title up at the top, I decided to go ahead and put my title right across the 2 pages, because I think one of the things about Claudia's sketch that kind of ties it all together is that the photos kind of look like a row of photos that go right across the 2 pages. And I didn't quite achieve that with my cards. It just, for whatever reason, the way that I had them centered, it just didn't quite look right. So instead of having the photos kind of connecting the 2 pages, I decided to do the title. And here you can see I had to pull out my phone quickly because I wanted to make sure I was sort of putting my little embellishment clusters in roughly the same place that Claudia was. Oh, that's my little guy trying to say hi to you guys. He likes to craft with me. So I don't think you always have to do exactly what the sketch says, but in this case, I felt like I had so many different spots where I wanted to start putting embellishments, and I needed to just rein myself in a little bit. So I consulted the sketch to kind of guide me as to where to put them. And you saw me pull out a bunch of options. I sort of wanted to dig through my stuff, A, because my paint was still drying, but B, I like to kind of pull out a few options and give myself more than I need, but not everything, because I have a lot of fall stuff and I could be sitting there for hours trying to pick the exact right embellishment. So I definitely pulled out the matching embellishments that I have for this collection, which is the little pack of die cuts, the sticky back flare, and some chipboard. But I did pull out a few other things as well and kind of, wanted to add a few extra elements, but essentially I stuck to those fall things. The title comes from last year's Simple Stories fall collection, which I think was called Acorn Lane. And I put that kind of right across, and I will cut the cozy in half. But yeah, everything else I kind of tucked in roughly those same areas that Claudia has them, so that I could kind of stick focused and not get too carried away. And then I finished it off with some Plum Delight sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. Here you can see me just cutting that word in half and kind of lining it up so it works really well, and you can see that these two pages definitely go together. But that's really it. I added my little sequins clusters. I love the little pops of color from the Plum Delight. It's such a gorgeous kind of pinky purpley fall color with some gold in it. It's beautiful. And yeah, that is it. That is my 2-page layout for you guys for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me on YouTube again at Kay's Mom, and also on Instagram. And I will talk to you all again soon. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.